All right, let's get into it. Today we're talking about one of the most ambitious and, yeah, one of the most controversial projects on the entire internet, Anna's Archive. This is a platform that's right at the center of a huge global fight over who gets to access knowledge and who has to pay for it.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You're a student, maybe a researcher, and that one single article you desperately need is locked behind a $40 paywall. It is so frustrating. And that exact feeling is what created platforms like Anna's Archive. But the solution they came up with, it's a pretty radical one.
I mean, just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, look at this number. Anna's Archive indexes over 52.8 million books. To put that into perspective, that's more than 10 times what the New York Public Library is estimated to have. And that's not even counting the nearly 100 million academic papers. So yeah, this isn't just some website. It's like a digital library of Alexandria for our time.
So what exactly is Anna's Archive? Is it a library? Is it a pirate site? Well, the answer is kinda complicated. And as you'll see, that complexity is a huge part of its defense. Okay, first things first, we've got to understand the whole concept of a shadow library. Basically, these are massive online collections of books and articles that just operate outside of copyright law. Think of them as the digital underground for knowledge, you know? They provide access to stuff that's otherwise locked away. But here's where it gets really clever, or at least this is their big legal argument. Anna's Archive says they aren't actually a shadow library. They call themselves a meta-search engine. See, it doesn't store any of the copyrighted books on its own servers. It just indexes the information, the title, the author, all that stuff, and then it points you to where the file lives on other shadow libraries, like Z Library or Library Genesis. So they claim they're just the catalog, not the actual warehouse full of books. And the way it started is directly tied to this huge event. So when the infamous Z Library got taken down by US authorities back in November 2022, it looked like a major blow to the whole scene. But it turns out an anonymous group called the Pirate Library Mirror had already backed up Z Library's entire collection. So just days after the takedown, a member of that group, known only as Anna Archivist, launched Anna's Archive to make all that saved data searchable once again. So, what started as this kind of reactive project to save another library's data, well, it pretty quickly turned into a full-blown mission. For the people behind it, this is about a lot more than just saving students some money on textbooks. It's a real ideological quest. And the project's stated goals are, honestly, incredibly ambitious. Goal number 1 is preservation. They literally want to catalog and back up every single book in existence to create this permanent archive of human culture. And goal number 2? Access. They want to make that entire archive available to anyone, anywhere on the planet, completely for free. This whole mission is really driven by one core belief. A famous mantra you hear a lot in hacker and free culture circles. Information wants to be free. It's this idea that knowledge is a public good, something that shouldn't be locked down by corporations or restricted by copyright laws. And if there's a guiding spirit here, it's Aaron Swartz. He was that brilliant programmer and information activist who tragically took his own life while facing federal charges for mass downloading academic articles. Anna's Archive is very open about the fact that he's a huge inspiration, and they're trying to carry on his vision of liberating knowledge for everyone. But of course, there is a whole other side to this story. For every person who looks at Anna's Archive and sees a noble, universal library, there's another person who sees a criminal enterprise, one that's committing theft on a scale we've never seen before. If you talk to authors, publishers, or academic groups, their argument is pretty straightforward. This is mass copyright infringement, plain and simple. They argue that by letting people bypass paywalls and skip legitimate sales, the site is destroying the financial model that actually funds the creation of new books, new research, and all sorts of creative work. And this really gets us to the core conflict, these two completely different worldviews. On one side, you have Anna's Archive saying, hey, we just index data, we're preserving culture, and we're helping people who can't afford access. But on the other side, the publishing industry is accusing them of massive infringement that threatens their whole system, devalues the work of authors, and could even damage research integrity. And this isn't just some philosophical debate either. The US government has officially weighed in. The Office of the Trade Representative put Anna's Archive on its annual Notorious Markets list, which is the exact same list that includes infamous piracy sites like the Pirate Bay.
So that official label is just one piece of a much larger puzzle, a global crackdown. The sheer success and size of Anna's Archive has kicked off a legal firestorm that's really aimed at shutting it down for good.
And things escalated really fast. It started not long after launch.
with a lawsuit in late 2023 that accused the site of hacking and stealing data from WorldCat, which is the world's largest library catalog. Then came the ISP blocks. These are court orders that force internet providers to stop their users from even getting to the site. First it was Italy, then the Netherlands, then the UK, and most recently Belgium. The walls are closing in.
So with this huge legal battle going on, you might be wondering, what's the site actually like to use? Well, despite its huge mission, the feedback is mixed. A lot of people say the interface is pretty clunky and not very user-friendly. And if you're not a paying member who donates to the site, well, you might be in for a very, very long wait.
This quote from a user on Reddit just captures the frustration perfectly. To stop bots from abusing the system, free users get hit with this slow countdown timer before they can download anything. And as this user hilariously put it, I saw the seasons passed, children grow, babies being born, people died. Yeah, 400 seconds can feel like an absolute eternity when you just want to get a book.
Okay, let's pull back and look at the bigger picture for a second, because the implications of a dataset this massive go way beyond just one person downloading one book. It's now starting to collide with one of the most powerful technologies on the planet, artificial intelligence.
And this is a wild twist. In a lawsuit against Meta, some unsealed internal emails revealed that the company had downloaded over 81 terabytes of data from Anna's archive. And why? To feed this gigantic library of human writing into its large language models to train them. So, the very same so-called pirate libraries are now literally fueling the AI arms race.
So if you're feeling a little uncomfortable with all this legal and ethical gray area, it's worth remembering that there are plenty of powerful, totally legal alternatives. You've got Project Gutenberg for public domain books, the Internet Archive and Open Library have millions more, and resources like Google Books and the Directory of Open Access Journals offer safe, legitimate ways to get a ton of knowledge.
But here's the catch. None of them, not one, comes close to the sheer, comprehensive scale of Anna's archive. And that's exactly why this platform, as controversial as it is forcing a conversation that we just can't ignore. A conversation about what knowledge is worth, what copyright is for, and how our digital world should be structured. And in the end, it all really boils down to this one huge question. Is having access to the sum of all human knowledge a privilege, something reserved for people who can pay for it through universities and subscriptions? Or is it a fundamental, universal human right that should belong to everyone? Anna's archive has picked its answer. The rest of the world is still trying to figure